It's not for everyone. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a new podcast of Through the Grapevines. We have a very special guest today. It's Chris. He is not from Germany. He came all the way up from Canada.
Vancouver, British Columbia.
In Canada, like, what did you say, like 2014 it got legalized? Or
2018 is when it was legalized.
Yeah. How did you came there in the business? Like,
I've been working in legal cannabis since 2017, just before it went fully legal federally in Canada. As part of the groups that I were with, they had early aspirations about getting into the German market, even before they had product to offer, which was common.
So Canada was already interested in selling some stuff to Germany.
Yeah,
even
absolutely.
Right after they legalized it.
Yeah, absolutely. There had been, a number of groups that kind of positioned their facilities specifically for export. Whether they had, the foresight, about the crippling excise taxes or, the amount of companies supplying the domestic market or the high margins, right, that are available for Canadian exports into the German.
Is Pure Sunfarms one of these companies too, or?
They are.
Yeah.
So they are the supplier of Ayuvo Therapeutics. And they grow, probably over 15, 20 varietals now. There were a lot of people who took advantage of the excitement and kind of the quote unquote stupid money that was flowing into the cannabis business in those early days. A lot of these organizations in a difficult position. I'm not saying it's the sole reason. I would say that the regulations and the punishing excise tax, it is a problem. Makes it very difficult for companies to make money. And if you can't generate revenue, and if the only entities that are actually making money are the ones run by the government, you don't really have an industry that's going to subsist. Certainly not in the way that I think promotes free market and innovation and, broader access to better products for consumers and patients alike. Companies like Aurora and Canopy, let's just let the numbers speak for themselves. So when I started in this industry, when I started at Pure Sunfarms about 3 years ago, the valuations of those companies were in, double digits in the billions. Massive evaluation. I think Canopy's was like 20 billion, 30 billion. I don't know the exact numbers, but if you look at their market cap today, it's like a bill or it's crazy. And it does kind of show you, the fraudulent nature of those early days of, getting people's money based on things like funded capacity, which is this concept of how much can you grow? And just on that factor alone,
they
I'm gonna invest
give the money.
Regardless of quality. Sativa and indica just describe the plant's morphology or the structure, what it looks like. It would probably, be better to call sativas equatorials and indicas alpines just because of where they actually come from. But the reason why people use those descriptions as an indicator of effect is because historically terpenes have been found, specific terpenes like myrcene, my Instagram handle is myrcene man. That's often found on indica morphology.
It's a special terpene that's found on more indica kind of.
Yeah, it's hops. You
varieties.
find it in hops and mangoes. But certainly it is responsible for some of the sedating effects a lot of people ascribe to indica, even though that's not really a fair, association.
What's your main profession in the business?
So I gave my resignation at Pure Sunfarms as of June 9th after just over 2.5 years of working as their lead salesperson. Helped build their non-branded wholesale department. We sold flower that our brand, Pure Sunfarms, or any of the subsequent brands that group has launched, Fraser Valley and Soar, product that couldn't be used, we had to sell to other LPs, business to business. And we often were put in charge of getting product out the door that was difficult to sell. Product that was below potency, product that was, not sterilized and was out of spec.
Yeah.
There's just a whole range, but it was our responsibility to clear out as much as possible.
Yeah.
Because Pure Sun Farms on any given month is producing 7,000 to 10,000 kilograms of sellable flower.
Yeah.
So if you're not able to get that down your domestic lines, and they haven't had the ability to move product internationally until recently in the last year or so, that product starts building up. And so the wholesale department at Pure Sun Farms played a vital role.
What do you do then when you have a low quality weed?
Low quality weed often goes, sad to say, a lot of it goes to infused pre-rolls or pre-rolls.
Yeah.
It's just ground up. And I say infusion first because that's a good way of hiding the quality of the weed. If you infuse it with distillate and botanical terps, which I'm afraid to say dominate large portions of the legal market.
Yeah.
Because people are price performance sensitive, just like they are here in Germany in the legal market.
What do you mean by infused? Like there's on the lower quality weed, they have some extra extracts they put on and they put it in the pre-rolls then? Or?
Yeah, I mean, I smoke infused pre-rolls every day, but I bash hash rosin personally.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the nicest derivative or extract as far as I'm aware. Although, you can get pre-pressed hash and even traditional hash if made the right way. These can all be infused. But in the Canadian market, what is the cheapest fortifier? Distillate. How do you create the strongest flavors, the most distinct flavors and aromas? Botanical terpenes, especially when you're working with products that have been stripped of all their aroma and flavor in these downstream processes, like post-harvest processes that are not considerate and are not careful with the plant. They're putting them through machines.
Yeah.
They're having many, many people touch it down the line.
Yeah.
And it just becomes very difficult to retain a lot of the value that people who know the plant are looking for, right?
Yeah. Sounds for me like a good business move.
Absolutely. I'm not questioning. I'm not questioning the validity of the business play here. The Canadian market is looking for those kind of products.
Yeah.
And these providers are providing what the market is looking for.
Yeah.
I'm just saying when in terms of quality, like empirical quality, those are more one-dimensional experiences than what you can find from things like hash rosin, single-source hash rosin, or flour that has been dried the right way, right? That has been cured the right way, that has been handled the right way with care. It's like respecting the plant every single step until it's consumed.
Yeah.
And I know that I still haven't answered your question. There's a big difference between extractions made with solvents, chemical solvents, and extractions that don't use any.
Yeah.
In glass culture at the upper echelons, they're almost exclusively consuming hash rosin.
Yeah.
And there's a reason for that, right?
Yeah.
I'm not saying that, they don't smoke other things. There's arguments about BHO, a solvent-based extract, being able to better retain monoterpenes because monoterpenes are quite fragile. As far as the trend is concerned, in those, the headiest of glass spaces where they're buying $50,000, $25,000 pieces, they're consuming hash rosin. Single source hash rosin is like the zenith of cannabis. It's the highest form we know of currently of cannabis, which is mechanically extracted gland heads using fresh frozen material and ice water and centrifugal forces, both vertical and horizontal. And it's kind of like a flow. Single source implies that the person is doing everything they can to produce the best hash. And that includes designing the substrates to which the plants grow in and breeding for dumpers, quote unquote dumpers.
Yeah.
And dumpers are like strains or varietals that have been bred to have very long capitate trichomes that are hopefully weak and large gland heads.
Yeah.
Because through that process of mechanical...
It's easier.
Precisely. And not only is it easier, but you're getting a higher quality of gland head.
Yeah. So you're using a special variety as well to get the better...
That's what this is all about, right?
Okay. Would you say it's a difference between like a medical product and maybe for the normal market?
Honestly, it's completely different, right? Especially when it comes to quality. And it's nice that our conversation keeps naturally coming back to quality. But with EU GMP, one of the parameters is having a loss on drying, an LOD of 10% or less. And in simple terms, this is how much moisture is left on the plant post-harvest when it goes in for testing. These gland heads are extraordinarily sensitive, right? To heat, to pressure, to touch, everything. Hence the reason fresh frozen is so valuable. The plant requires a certain amount of moisture to retain the optimal retention of trichomes, right? If you dry the plant out too much, there's no way for those trichomes to really keep their integrity. You know, so much of the product that you see being imported over the years into the German medical market is dry. It's not like the same experience of opening a fresh bag of Loud from a traditional market where you're just like, you know, the terpenes are so intense that just the odor and that experience provides, you know, a therapeutic effect. It's like aromatherapy. That's what it is, essential oils. And it's being consumed and treated as a finished good, which creates this dynamic, right, of not being able to retain the true medical components of the flower because it's being treated by a set of guidelines that really don't align well to cannabis. It is important to know what the different levels objectively of quality are.
You focus a lot on quality. What are the factors, for example? Like, what are the main... Are you sitting there with a paper and you're like, okay, terps, smell, structure, you know?
I'll get to that for sure.
All right.
The highest grade that I deduced would be classified boutique. Boutique, to me, is defined by characteristics like exoticism, so like how crazy the genetic is, how difficult the genetic is to access. You're also looking for things like trichome brilliance. It's like, does it shine? Right? Like when you look at it, is it like reflecting like light at a really intense level? And if it does, usually that's an indicator that that plant has just been treated with a ton of care and attention. How its calyx structure is oriented, right? Does it like pinch out? Does it foxtail? You know, is it a Grinspoon?
What do you mean by Grinspoon? I just know this strain, Dr. Grinspoon.
Yeah, so that's what I'm referring to, right?
Probably a very high percentage of THC, isn't it? Like,
and it's boutique, right? Because it's impossible to get. It meets all the characteristics. But the effects are like, because the cannabinoid, terpenoid, flavonoid mix is so peculiar. And this just goes to show you how much cannabis genetics are in their infancy. Can you think about other genetics that are quite like Grinspoon? Not really. Like, there's just not that many out there, right?
A couple of years ago, I was in Amsterdam. I think I bought it over there, and it was just the most expensive one on the list. So I was like, I should have a try.
It's just you're paying, like, that's another thing that would define boutique is price.
Right? For sure. I think it was like 25, 30, something
for
like
a gram.
That. For a gram,
And you probably just saw these little kind of like pussy willow looking nugs, and they're weird. I've never smoked Grinspoon.
No?
Personally.
I can say it was strong. What comes after boutique?
The select grade.
The select grade?
Is what you'd call it. It's just select. Is a grade of cannabis that embodies many of what we discussed in boutique, but in ways that can be shared commercially. So or not, or like there's going to be select product that's in the traditional market as well. But it's also going to have really good genetics.
Yeah.
But below select is
let's go
standard
on with this list, yeah.
standard grade, and then below standard grade is value grade. Nothing wrong with any of these grades.
Yeah.
All of these grades,
Have
they hold
different,
they hold meaning to the types of markets.
Is value cannabis, for example, then the stuff you put for extracts and stuff like that, or?
Value grade would be utilized for large format and for pre-rolls. Extraction, but a lot of the time extractors are using trim, which is a grade that I did not include. Like, it's not going to be included when describing flower.
Yeah.
But value is really where it is the driver of price performance.
Yeah.
And maybe standard grade too, right?
Yeah.
So this is where the German medical market is really going to thrive.
Yeah.
Is in these positions, especially with the way that recreational cannabis is going to be rolled out in Germany with the clubs.
Even if you say like, okay, it's not an official categorization system, it's still, I think, important for the people outside to get like at least some kind of view on,
a compass,
on it, you know?
Yeah, it's a compass, right?
Yeah.
That people can use to navigate their way through product.
We start with a fast quiz, ladies and gentlemen, right now over here with Chris. First task, describe the cannabis industry worldwide in 3 words.
Hopeful and exciting.
You know, that counts, you know, because we're in the game. All right, number 2, favorite strain or variety?
I like citrus and tropical cultivars.
Funniest strain name, you know.
Blueberry Fields Forever.
Cuts or in vitro?
Good cuts are going to go through in vitro at some point anyway, but you're not going to be able to do, so I'm giving you a long fucking answer, cuts.
All right, best region for growing cannabis outdoor?
Humboldt.
That's already it. So
awesome.
I'm very happy, man, that you've been here.
Yeah, no, I'm
we had a lot of
very happy that you had me today.
Yeah,
good. I'm glad. Appreciate it.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, no worries. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. It's not for everyone.